right, we're gonna start the meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Housing Zoning Board of Appeals, February 22nd. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Torino,
Here.
Vice Chair Montana. Here. Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Plautz.
Here.
Commissioner Aruda, Commissioner Zimnowitz. Here. Commissioner Kendall,
Here.
and Councilmember Afton.
Here. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes? So I'd like the motion to approve the minutes of the meeting held on January 25th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Torino,
Aye.
Vice Chair Montana,
Aye.
Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Plautz,
Aye.
Commissioner Aruda, Commissioner Zimnowitz,
Aye.
and Commissioner Kendall.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. There's a couple pieces of correspondence. The first one I'll read in the record. We have a letter here from Arthur Torrey from 56 Elm Street. Regarding the property at 63 Center Street, to my knowledge, this residence has always been single-family occupancy and never had an issue with parking. I believe the property shares a driveway with 65 Center Street. At one time, a garage stood in the backyard, since removed, which was used by both parcels. The owner of 65 Center Street has already paved over the grass area of his backyard with an entrance on Elm Street. I am not sure if he obtained a permit or not. The same scenario took place with 61 Center. The side yard was turned into a parking lot. The owner of 63 Center also used the entrance on Elm Street to bring in a backhoe across his neighbor's property and onto his own property, probably without permission. In either case, 63 Center does not have a right-of-way to exit onto Elm Street. Furthermore, if 63 Center Street owns the entire driveway, then there would be room for at least 3 cars without paving over the lawn. The current owner desires to rent out the property either to a single family or to 3 unrelated individuals. To me, that means more student housing, plain and simple. Converting this parcel into student housing is 100% against Mayor Mark Drenick's vision for Center City, as evidenced by his article in the Daily Star on February 21st, and will add to the blight that exists in the area with house guests and visiting students congregating. It will negatively impact parking opportunities on Center Street and Elm Street. I do want to take a moment to applaud Mr. Hoteling for purchasing a home that has long been neglected after the death of the prior owner. My hope is that he is able and willing to bring the home back to life with any needed repairs, both inside and out. This home could be a fine representation towards the revitalization of the block. A new single-family occupant will love the backyard, especially if they had children. Unfortunately, if history is any guide, student housing will not accomplish that goal. I would love to be optimistic about the future of Center City. I have lived here a very long time. However, with the increasing conversion of single-family homes into student rentals, I have become more pessimistic, especially with lawns being converted into parking lots and properties not being well maintained. It seems to be the time to enforce the proper approach to variances. That is, present the request before forging ahead with your own individual improvement plan. I recommend a vote against allowing the variance for 63 Center Street. Sincerely, Arthur Torrey. The second piece of correspondence is from a Michael Normal. Dear Sir or Madam, I am writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed zoning variance for additional parking at 63 Center Street in Oneonta, New York. As a neighbor and property owner in the area, I am deeply concerned about the impact that this project will have on my property and my tenants. Firstly, I would like to point out that the work on the property has already begun without the necessary permits. This is not only a violation of the law, but it also shows a lack of consideration for the community and the environment. Furthermore, the shared driveway to the property was not designed to handle a large volume of traffic. This will undoubtedly increase the risk to my tenants as well as to my property. I am very concerned about the safety of my tenants and their vehicles, as well as the increased noise and traffic that will come with the additional parking. Finally, I must express my outrage that the workers on the project trespassed on my property to get equipment in to start excavating. This is completely unacceptable. This is completely unacceptable and shows a complete disregard for my rights as a property owner and the privacy of my tenants. In light of these concerns, I strongly urge you to deny the zoning variance for additional parking at 63 Center Street in Oneonta, New York. The potential risks and negative impact on the community far outweigh any potential benefits. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And that was from Michael Normal from 65 Center Street. There are some pictures included in this statement, and so if everybody will just take a look at that really quick too. There's two pictures. I believe he's showing the snow tracks in his driveway and stuff like that. So. That's all the correspondence that we have. The new business before us is an applicant who's representing 63 Center Street. Who's here to represent 63 Center Street?
Yeah, I can probably handle that.
Well, each one of you, if you're gonna represent just need to state your name and then where you live, okay?
Well, William Hotel, I'm John's father. You take, it's a driveway that goes up, cuts off to the left. And there's a spot out there for about 2 cars. It wouldn't hurt anything, it would get the cars off the street. And at the time the guy went in to the backhoe business, he went in, actually without my knowledge, he went and looked at it. But all of a sudden he went right in there, gun ho, he said he was gonna go on vacation. And he wanted to get ahead of the game. So he went in there basically without us knowing it. I didn't realize you had to have a permit for behind the house. I knew you did in front, but I didn't realize you even had to have a permit behind the house. And I figured they pull off to the left. There's just a grass yard there. They park a couple cars there. It wouldn't bother nothing to get them off the street. I found out afterwards that these people doing all this bitching, they actually wanted to buy the house, but it got taken away without them, so I think that's why they got a little axe to grind.
Okay, so what you're asking us to do is to allow you to, we're just asking what you want us to allow you to do, that's what we're
Yeah,
asking.
well, as you pull off to the left, park a couple cars behind the house. To me, it wouldn't be a big deal. They're blowing it out of proportion, actually.
It's a shared driveway, you can't go out in and out of Elm Street, so you have to, it's a shared driveway, he can come down.
And try pulling up the driveway and back out. It's a little bit of a chore.
Can we get your name, please?
John,
And it's not that big a spot. You just pull to the left, and then
it's
you
already
can.
got gravel there, some of us already got gravel there.
And there was actually a garage up in there at one time. And they tore the garage down. I mean, heavy traffic, what's a couple cars parked behind the house? To me, it'd be better than parking on the street where half the time they get clipped. They're kind of blowing around the proportion a little bit there. I mean, you pull up, you got 2 houses, you pull up, you pull to the left, you got a spot there, not too big a spot, but you park a couple cars and pull out. It's heavy traffic. I don't know where he said the heavy traffic would be, but and it's just a single family house, so there's not gonna be a whole lot of cars there. And as far as fixing the house up, we'll make sure it's fixed up. There won't be no eyesore when we get done with it.
Okay, can you state your name, please?
Sorry, Linton Johnson. Linton Johnson. I did a drawing for them, so just his proposal was to extend the parking area onto that lawn area.
I don't know if any of you
So
drove up there.
that was the proposal to extend that. So it's just to extend the parking
Do
area.
they have a copy of that?
Yes, we do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, we do.
I mean, it's a
So
grass
basically,
spot.
is to change the grass and gravel that or fill. I'm not quite sure what would be
I mean,
accepted.
we could
If
bring
fill
Phil
would be
in,
accepted or
do it up the
gravel.
way it should be. It won't be no eyesore, it won't be nothing like that.
All right, so, I mean, I have a couple of questions about, and so I'm sure, you know, the board does as well. The parking, it's gonna be adjacent to the neighbor's property, all right? And so how close is the parking going to be to the neighbor's property?
Well, they got a fence up, they got a.
So it's gonna be right up above, abut to the
Yeah, a
fence?
couple feet from the fence.
It's already that way now, sir.
What's that?
The neighbor's already there now. so-
Yeah.
So it's gonna be right up against the fence?
Which neighbor are you
Which
talking?
neighbor?
Let's say first that we'll deal with the rear of the property now.
Okay.
So
That's
it,
not the fence, that's
Yes,
the yellow
that,
house.
the garage was already up to,
You haven't joined, you're talking about 55 Elm Street then, property to that.
Next door.
I'm just talking if you were to drive down the driveway.
to the
right
back.
in
Right behind
front of you,
55 Elm Street.
Yeah, that would be,
yeah, that driveway is already gravelled all the way up to the fence. And it was gravelled all the way to him.
He was there when they put the gravel, the owner of that property
I'm
was there.
saying, so you're, it's gonna be right to the fence?
Yeah.
Okay. I see that the, you know, so you're not gonna put up any additional fencing?
No, no.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, one of the guys on there, he said they had girls that used to pull up and park up behind. Every time around, he said they was getting stuck on that grass, we had to go over and push them out.
Okay.
So I said, well, if we put gravel here, I said, maybe it'd prevent them from getting stuck. He didn't act like he cared too much about that, the way he was saying. But I found out afterwards, he did want to buy the place, and
Okay.
he kind of a little bit mad over that.
Do you have
There
any,
wouldn't be any backyard left, it would just be a parking spot.
Just pull up and just parking, yeah. Just a couple of cars behind the house, because right now, if they pull up, you got to pull up and then you have to back out, and you got a house here and a house here, and it's only like 12, 14 feet wide, it's a little
If
bit
there's
tough.
two cars in the backyard,
It's,
you'll have
it's
to
a
go
little
on the
tough to
lawn,
back,
on
it's
the
a little
lawn in order
tough
to
to
turn.
back out, because you don't have that much room, but if you could pull up and pull off to the left, that'd make it easier to pull back out.
I'm gonna let each, member ask you any questions they have. Doug, do you have any questions, for the applicant?
Well, yeah, I was looking at the reasons on your application for why you would not be able to realize a reasonable return. You say tenants are looking for security for their cars when they park overnight, and you're suggesting you wouldn't be able to rent it if you didn't have off-street parking. I live, not on Center Street, but very close to there, and landlords who have no driveway whatsoever don't seem to have a problem renting their property. So
It makes it, we've rented property out before, and they always call, the off-street parking, it's a little bit of it's a plus if you can do it. It's only a single-family house, so it's not gonna be whole lot of people, it's just a single family.
Anything else?
So you are planning to rent it to a family?
Well, actually, right now, my daughters would like to move in.
That's all I have right now.
Okay. Do you have anything else to?
I guess I have a question for us, and that is this, area,
It's an area
variance, or is it area?
It's an area variance.
Okay, so then, as I understand it, really, the fact that they can rent it or not rent it really isn't an issue.
Yeah, we'll get to that discussion. I think I wanna ask them.
So
their-
my concern is, we've had two neighbors write in that changing a backyard to a parking lot really affects, the quality of the neighborhood. And, I I think we have to take that under consideration.
Well, there's a fence up and
There ain't much of a lawn there.
there ain't much of a lawn there, I don't, wouldn't, a couple cars wouldn't make a
Mr.
bit
Klaus,
of difference.
do you
It
have
would-
anything to ask?
The garage was already missing when you purchased the property, correct?
Yeah, there was a spot there for the garage, yeah.
And that was that a shared driveway, but not a shared garage, correct?
It was a shared garage.
It was a shared garage.
Yes.
All right. And what you're proposing is to consume the entire backyard with parking?
Basically, yes.
I mean,
And on your drawing, the back of the parcel, I'm assuming, is adjacent to the Elm Street property, is that correct?
the backyard,
The backyard, where the
That-
garage was, and where the proposed spot?
The original garage was located where there's currently parking. So that garage was there, and then the area that they're proposing is new parking is the backyard. And it is adjacent to.
And the back of that property is adjacent to the Elm Street property, correct?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to,
Yep.
I'm trying to determine where that property line is and
Yeah, there's a
how it
fence.
impacts that property.
There's a fence that runs along.
Yeah.
It's adjacent to the house on Elm Street.
there's a solid fence that separates all of it.
Right.
Okay,
Steve, can I ask you a question? So the previous garage that was there, was that able to access a flow of a shared driveway
Could you
around
hear what she
the other
said,
house?
Martin?
No, it
You
stopped.
can't use Elm Street.
Yeah, so the thing with that shared garage, the reason it was torn down is after the old owner died, that garage started to cave in, and the property that is, 65 Center, the one that's next door to the 63,
yep.
came in and said, we wanna tear it down, we just need to tear it down, and they were given permission to remove it because it was basically just caved in on itself. And we couldn't get a hold of anyone from the state to approve the demolition, so it was just kind of, it was removed.
Fred, do you have any other questions for them?
I mean,
Not
you
right
got a
now.
narrow driveway,
Hold on one second, please.
hard to back out
So,
once you're in it.
I do have a question about the drawing,
We'll
so.
get to you, 'cause I'm trying to go, I'll go this way.
I'm fine.
You're fine,
For
okay.
the moment.
Louis-
I'll
No,
come back.
I was kind of,
All right.
ordering him.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
so I'm just trying to understand the drawing. It shows a garage that appears to be entirely on your property. Is that only part of the old garage? Was there another part over here? Or was it entire, or is this driveway that, as shown here, split down the middle between the two properties?
Kind of split down the middle.
So this driveway is split down the middle?
Yeah, the old garage was basically split, you could imagine like a property line down the garage.
Yes, I actually used to own a house in Madison, Wisconsin, where we had that situation.
Exactly.
Although ours looked like the driveway was more evenly split than this one.
I think what we're trying to surmise here is the driveway that comes 10 foot off of the house.
Yeah.
You own that property.
That's a shared.
But it's, I understand it's shared,
driveway.
I understand it's shared. But it's owned by this parcel, 63 Center Street.
Yeah, so if you
But
pull
on
up,
the deed, it's shared.
I understand that it's shared.
yeah,
But
that's,
this is
that's,
still,
I can't go Elm Street.
That's
He
the
can
only-
come down, he can come down the
I
driveway.
understand.
that's the only entrance to go out back. That's the only,
Where the garage used to be, excuse me.
Well, it's a shared, it was a
it's kind
shared
of a
garage.
shared
Yeah, I
drive.
don't think, I mean, that
You
would be
see,
a
this
survey.
isn't, what's that?
You probably would need a survey or some sort of.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You see, what we're trying to understand, where the property is here. Who owns what, you know.
See, I wasn't privy to that at the time when I did this drawing for them, so, you know,
The garage, I think, was kind of on both spots.
Yeah, that's what they used to.
But there has to be a property line.
shared.
there.
So I think it's
property
kind
line, I
of
think
a shared
is-
garage,
I
I
think
think
it's
it
straight
was.
up the driveway. I think the property line is straight up the
Yeah.
driveway.
Yeah, so I think a certain amount of it was
Well,
on.
that would mean that some of the garage would be on their property. I don't know if that,
Yeah.
see, that doesn't work like that, you know. It could work that years ago, but like, there's gotta be a defined property line there.
Well, it was shared driveway, so I think it might have been a shared garage.
Yeah, it was shared garage.
It was shared through the garage.
Yeah,
right
the
up
garage
to
was
that.
shared between the
Yeah,
two.
garage was
properties.
shared.
'Cause we ran around and around trying to find someone from the Galucci
Yeah, the-
Galucci.
estate
Yeah,
to basically give permission to remove the garage.
yeah,
That's
went
what the
right
deed
out
said.
up right into the garage, the shared driveway did.
All right, I was trying to look in here, do you have any type of, you know, storm water mitigation plan? Like you're gonna now be placing a hard surface over the entire back,
We'll put gravel there.
well, I get that too, but you're placing a proposed paved parking, right? Isn't that what you're doing here in the
Leave
back?
it paved.
It won't be paved, it'll be
Okay,
just,
it's still gonna be, you know, what's the
So
plan? We just
taking
wanna know.
water,
what the
taking
plan-
water, it's nothing.
It's gonna
We
take
can
that.
put-
Like, like blacktop.
if they get worried about drainage, I put tile in as far as that goes. But it ain't that big of an area.
The proposal was just to put some fill. No blacktop.
I understand, but we're just trying to figure out how you're gonna mitigate the water that's gonna now flow where there used to be grass. There used to be grass there, a 20 by 32 area of grass, and we're trying to understand, you know, where's the water gonna go? You're gonna be abutting everyone else's property here, so where's the water gonna go?
Right now, on the driveway, there's actually a pitch on the driveway.
I'm not talking necessarily about the driveway, I'm talking about
I
the
understand what you're saying.
proposed
I understand what you're
space.
saying, so that's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay,
Right now, on the driveway and on the parking space, it's pitched towards the front
If
of
you
the
tilt,
house.
if you
It's
tilt it
already
towards
pitched
our
towards
house,
the front of the
what
house.
he's saying is that,
So if they continue at that level, that water will run I guess, as you said.
so you're gonna pitch it away from the house and then down
It-
that
it's-
way,
it's
and then
pitched-
back to the driveway, that's your
It's
plan, that's
pitched,
your
it's
plan.
pitched that way right now, with whatever is existing, you know.
oh yeah, we,
It's
the guy
actually
that,
pitched two ways. It's pitched going through the neighbor's driveway, and it's going,
there'd be no
Well,
water
that's
out.
that's the thing, we can't be, you know, taking water from, you know,
I-
this
I
and
do
putting it
understand.
onto your neighbor's lawn or property, we can't do that.
Huh?
We'll pitch it all the way, make
Yeah.
sure everything's all right.
The guy that started, he already knew that, pit helped stiffen it away, so that wasn't a big deal. We have to put some drainage.
What do you think the width of your parking spaces are gonna be? Because how many cars are you gonna fit back here in this, I guess it's
I think it'd be
32
probably,
inches?
probably maybe two.
Okay, so the width would be,
Well, he's got on here, what have you got here
the
for
space,
width?
the space you got there is 32 feet. You got the space you can do by about 20.
Probably 32,
That's the extension, 32 by 20.
32 by 20. So just, we figured a couple cars.
Basically, you have the
My
total.
experience, a typical parking lane is 11 feet wide.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's 11.
See, what's hard is,
The
you,
total
you
space.
pull up the driveway, and then you have to back out, and that's if you had a little spot where you could pull up and just have a little spot, you could park the car, and it'd make it easy to turn around and come back out.
So if that expansion happens, the total parking space you'll have is like a 30,
All we care about is
34
just
by
a couple
32.
cars.
About a 34 by 32.
So,
You know, just a
Jim,
couple
when
cars.
I'm looking at this, I'm wondering, seeing how everything abuts to the fence and whatever, if you were going to back your car out so you could go down the driveway front forward, I would anticipate you're gonna back on the neighbor's lawn, or at least where the garage was. That apparently is half of,
Yeah,
that belongs to 65.
yeah,
It looks like it would be much too hard not to do that.
yeah.
And especially if it's renters,
Yeah.
you know, I think that could be a problem.
A little bit.
Mr. Kendall, do you have any other questions for them? Okay.
Steve, are there any setback requirements for
5
this?
feet.
It's 5 feet.
5 feet.
It's 5 feet.
It's in the memo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have a 5-foot setback from all property lines for parking spaces.
See,
So you'd need 5 feet from
the rear, and
the
that,
rear and the other side.
and that's what I'm just trying to surmise, the property line. I understand it's a shared driveway, but
Yeah,
you have
that-
5 feet from the back, that's gonna decrease to 32 feet.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
Okay,
I-
so that's now you're down to, you know.
So I think
27.
part of this variance request would be an area variance from those requirements.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, yeah. We would have to ask for that.
But I'm still trying to wrap my head around, if you don't mind, the garage that was there existing. You're saying that 65 Center Street was also using that garage?
What was you
Yeah.
saying? What now?
So this is a comment on my own, on behalf of like me living in Center City my whole entire life. I've never seen anybody besides 63 Center Street use that. I knew the Galucci's.
I mean,
So I don't know where it's coming from, that was a shared
it was
garage,
owned by 2 properties.
but there's no use to it though.
I mean,
Now there is because there's no garage.
yeah, I mean, the garage in the deed, the garage was shared. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was shared.
it was a shared garage.
So parts of the garage,
The old days.
That was always on.
so
Somebody has to own the property though.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't do a survey. I mean, I don't have a survey in
Yeah,
front of me.
I know, I either do, that's what,
Alright, so you
and
can,
you don't necessarily know who owns the property.
No, I
what's
don't,
that?
he's one about where the driveway is.
Oh,
GIS, but it wouldn't give them to me.
But they,
the garage was there at one time, and they both
the
shared the
lawyer
garage,
said
so
the shared,
basically,
shared driveway and the garage was shared, he said. That's what he said, the deed, everything.
yeah, it was all shared.
Well, the deed can say it's a shared driveway, but it doesn't mean necessarily that which
He
parcel.
can't use
owns-
Elm Street, so he can't use that, he can't, that's his own driveway, guy.
So basically, we're just looking to come up, and go to the left, park a couple cars, we could fill it in so it looked good, wouldn't bother the neighbors at all, and pull back out, cause the way it is now, you pull up, and you gotta back out, and you got a narrow driveway, and it's a little bit of a chore. When you go behind the house, even they said that, they was parking behind the house, but they was parking on the grass, and they was getting stuck, so I said, well, I'll bring in some film, so it'll prevent it. I thought we was doing a big deed, but I didn't think it was gonna be blown all out of proportion like this. Just to park a couple cars.
I don't think it's being blown out of proportion, there's just ways that things need to be done.
So it's kinda hard to explain without actually seeing it.
Well, we've all gone to the property, I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen.
You all looked at it?
Yes,
Oh, you
we've all
have?
looked- we've looked at
Pull up the driveway,
Did you pull up, and you backed out? You
Sure.
you did?
That's why I'm back
Yeah,
up.
we all had a hurry, it's trucking you around.
I have the same driveway, Center City, the driveways are
Kinda
small.
tough for me, but.
Well, before we go any farther, I'd like to look at the, the seeker here, and the compliance, with the seeker,
I mean, I'm not gonna have an eyesore, I wouldn't do that. It would just
sign
make
the
it,
house, it fix it all up. so
it
it
just
looks-
make it convenient for somebody to pull up and pull to the left and park and pull back out. And I just think it's kinda foolish not to be able to do it.
Okay, we're just gonna do a little housekeeping here, and then we'll get back to you in a second, okay, just
All right,
one
all
second,
right.
all right. So, I mean, we've looked at this, I mean, I think with review and, comments from the, code office and, review here, I think this is, a type 2 action under seeker, and I don't think any further review is required. Do you think we can get a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, second,
Second.
please call the roll.
Chair Zuniga,
Aye.
Vice Chair Montante,
Aye.
I'm just getting Commissioner Allen, she's
Yep.
not here. Commissioner Fout,
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Here, aye.
and Commissioner Kendall.
Aye.
I'm just gonna pull the board here, I mean, we have, we have to, look at the area variance and as well as approve or deny a site plan. There's a lot of unknowns here as far as, understanding the, exact stormwater mitigation plan. I mean, really to get to that part of it, we have to kind of look at how it's gonna be landscaped, how it's gonna be, developed and, paved or not paved, all of that. I think that, we need to look at the area variance there and allowing, this type of parking behind the house. Does anybody have any comments on that, or discussion on that?
Yeah, I think, the point that the garage was there in existence and it was not a shared driveway, not knowing who owns the property. I don't feel comfortable in approving the application as.
Mr. Kennedy?
I would also have some doubts, I would like to have cleared up about property ownership. And that's basically the way I feel at the moment.
I believe that we need to find out where that property line is. I also have some concerns about, you know, the parking areas in the back side of the house and how that's going to affect that other property over there, but.
I mean, regardless of, you know, who owns the property or not, I mean, is it gonna be, is it gonna be,
It's not,
are we looking at allowing that whole area to be, a parking lot, basically? With the removal of all that grass? I mean, the way the applicant's
I see it
application.
as a neighborhood I see it as a neighborly problem, because indeed, it's a shared driveway, and right now, not that many cars go up and down it, but this is like making sure that tenants' cars would definitely be using that on a regular basis. Also, when I look at it, there's, you know, we're talking about parking right up to the fence, and then I see a really nice spruce tree back here that looks like it's going to impact that if we dig it and make it gravel. And I think neighbors are saying that making this a parking area does change the quality of the neighborhood. And that's one of the things that our job is to ensure that we don't do those things. So right now, I will have a bit of a problem voting in favor of it.
So I don't wanna, I'm not attempting to sway anyone's mind but I do wanna throw out there, if we're looking at the character of the neighborhood, a majority of the houses in this neighborhood currently have rear parking. So I wanna go on the record as saying,
He's right there.
this wouldn't be the exception to the rule. So if we're gonna talk about neighborhood character, I think you have to take into account the house next door has rear parking.
Yeah,
over
they
most
all
of it.
do it, all up and down there do
And
it.
I'm not saying this for the applicant or an attempt to change your mind, I'm just saying, when reviewing these area variances, when you talk about neighborhood character, you have to make sure that the neighborhood character isn't that there's a bunch of houses around it with backyard parking and this one that doesn't happen to have backyard parking.
In those ones, Steve, where there is backyard parking, do you need to pull on the neighbor's property to turn around?
No. And
I'm just asking it, because I see that as an issue here too.
I do, I'm not saying I don't, I'm just saying,
They don't have,
there are many properties adjoining this one that have backyard parking.
Are there any restrictions for the total area of parking?
There is.
Per law?
Yep.
What is that?
So
requirement?
so part of the reason that you're being required to do a site plan review is anytime you exceed 30% of the lot coverage in an R2, you're required to do site plan review. So many of these parking areas predate that impervious coverage. You know, they're grandfathered in, they're non-conforming, pre-existing. So this is a new application, which is why they have to have a site plan review. Those other parking areas were probably made, 50 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to point out, from a neighborhood character standpoint, and that includes your legitimate concern about property lines but I would argue, or at least add an opinion from the public, that many houses in that neighborhood have pre-existing, non-conforming rear yard parking. Just for the record. Sorry. I didn't try to throw that, I just kind of threw a hand grenade and stepped out.
Back to my question. This looks like it consumes 100% of the backyard.
Yep.
Which is far exceeding the 30%.
Yep,
So,
sure, yep.
We can even eliminate one car, as long as somebody can park there, it's only a single family.
The problem is that we have this application in front of us right now.
Right.
And this is what you're asking is to, pull the parking all the way to the lot lines, which we would have to grant a variance because you're supposed to be 5 foot off of the lot lines as well. And the other fact is that you're encompassing the entire backyard with parking.
Well, the guy right next to us, that joins us where the garage was,
I understand that, but
He
this
got
is,
it.
grandfathered in.
this is a new application in this
just because the
respect.
grandfather don't make it right.
59 Elm Street, they got out back, this looks like it's brand new.
I don't know, we're looking at this
Yeah,
particular
that's, you
application.
might wanna look at that too, you know, that's same type of width and everything, what we're looking at.
We look at the applications that become before the board, we're not, going out there and doing that.
I
This is
just
the
think,
garage
some,
door.
I just think anything to make things easier is okay, but apparently there's people that don't seem to look that way. As far as pulling up the driveway and back down, I tell you, it's a little bit chore. I drive all the while, it's a little chore, they can say what they want, but it's a pain right in the rear. If you could pull off to the left, get out of the car and park, well, if you drive out, it's a lot better than backing up. So, you can whitewash it any way you wanna, it's a joke.
So let me ask you this question if you don't mind. So if you are to have 3 vehicles in there, what happens to the space where the original garage was? Obviously, that garage was
I
being
can't
used for
get it.
vehicles, so wouldn't you just pull in? Or is there a law that they have to
I couldn't hear you.
maintain?
I couldn't hear you.
If you pull into the
Can you
driveway
hear that?
and you
Yeah.
pull in and you parked where the garage was, wouldn't you have room to back up your vehicle to the left as you're
Well, you
driving
could,
and you pull
you could,
straight?
but the half of the garage was on you, the other guy, half is on the other guy.
But
So if you pull up, there's not, it makes it kinda, so you gotta kinda wiggle around, do that to get it out. So I said, hey, if we went just to the left a little, would be just enough to swing the car around. That's all, it's not that big a deal. The garage took up half
it
of
is a
it.
big deal, because to Fred's point, 50% of it is now going to be paved over. And in looking at the neighborhood, sure, the adjacent properties have that setup, but as we move forward, that doesn't mean that others will. We're trying to enhance the properties as we are in Center City to renovate them so that they look residential.
I mean, the guy right to the left there, he pulls up, he's got parking, but you go off to the left there, that's just where I want it. I mean, it's kinda hard to explain it.
But if maybe I didn't explain this up clearly. When you pull into the driveway, if your vehicles were to park right where the garage was, wouldn't they be able to back out toward the,
That's me, yeah, I could do that.
toward the back
Pull
side
right
of
up where the
this?
garage is,
Right.
you could pull right straight ahead where the garage is.
Mhm.
And then you could put
Turn.
your back into the car, right where I wanna bring Phil in, and then drive out. Cause
Yeah.
there's not room enough to pull straight in, and then you gotta go back straight out. So just a little bit to the left would be just enough so where you could turn the car around. That's all we care about, just enough we can turn the car around and pull, so you can drive it out.
So
I mean, you
instead
could
of
back the car out, but, you know, a little bit of a chore,
You're supposed
cause
to
it's how
back
they're
out.
close
So
together.
instead of a parking area, you might be talking about a turnaround?
Well, yeah, that's okay, as long as we can turn around, but you can pull up and turn around.
At least it doesn't take the whole entire backyard.
It ain't gotta be that much room to be able to turn around. It ain't that bad. I mean, it ain't gonna ruin nothing around there or nothing else.
Fred, do you have anything else that you'd like to add or ask? Okay.
Fine, thank you.
Mr. Kendall?
No.
Could we get I guess we're looking at, approving the site plan. I don't know,
No.
we can have an approval on the site plan itself. And, and that, we have to look at both things here, the area there is, and then we have to look there.
Yeah, you can't approve a site plan.
I-
as
I've,
is.
uh, I've done enough in building, so I know, I wouldn't have no eyesore at all, believe me. I got enough property around Oneonta, so I know better than have an eyesore. I got several properties. Which has been nominated some of the best looking houses in Oneonta.
And that's great, thank you for doing those things. And that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's great that you do
I
that,
can't-
and
I
thank
wouldn't-
you for
I
that.
can't
But
stand to look at
on this
houses not
particular
fixed up.
property, there's just some concerns that, we
Yeah.
have there. It's not saying, it's not a slight against you or what you do, you obviously do some nice stuff.
Between the land property and the school, we pay $50,000, I do. But I got a lot of properties, and every one of them is fixed up, and I've got several where they've been best looking houses in Oneonta.
Thank you. Could we get a motion from somebody, to approve or deny this particular application? Do you have something else to say?
If they should redo their proposal, so to speak, to go your 5 feet from each fence, would that be more?
I mean, you can
acceptable?
ask the board to do that. I mean, there's some considerable amount of issues with this application, it seems like, after I polled the board. So, I
Because
mean, we could ask the board if somebody wanted to make that motion to, you know,
Well, the plan can
table
be
this to the
revised.
next time. I don't know if that's gonna necessarily happen. I mean, I don't know, what
Yeah,
everyone
if-
feels
if-
about that. I don't know, is it just the 5 feet that you're looking to change, or what?
Yeah, you talk about mitigation system and 5 feet, so if they can redo a plan, to see if that will meet your.
I think that could be helpful, especially if there was also some clarification on where the property line is.
Right.
So all that will be available, it's gonna be tabled and get back to that, and
I guess my own feeling would be is, I understand why you wanna park back there. And I like the idea better that there would be a turnaround. That you could pull up where the old garage was and perhaps have a small turnaround, so you can go back out front ways. Which might mean only one car, there. But then you wouldn't be using up the entire backyard. And you could adjust it for the 5 feet. So, my general sense would be an adjustment in the plan, not just for 5 feet.
Whenever somebody, make a motion to table this, with the condition, with the conditions of a change of plan, with a storm water mitigation plan, with the,
Would it be possible to get a new drawing showing the 5 feet setback for the property, showing the indication of the number of parking spots that you are proposing, based on the criteria of whatever, 11 feet or whatever it is? So that way we can see where the parking spots are in that proposed area. And maybe do a flow diagram of how the turnaround is going to be. And also determine where the property line is on that shared driveway, just for a reference. If you could do that, I would make a motion to table it under those circumstances and any other circumstances.
and we would have to know that there's still the right to use the other property. See, it becomes where that garage was. I think that's what we're trying to find out.
I was gonna say, I mean, clarification on that garage, if,
We need.
they
you
might already
understand?
have a turnaround there, if in theory.
That's
it's
right.
Shared,
That's right.
Correct.
We need to know, because I'm not gonna, we can't approve something that he doesn't own the right to do so to.
well, yeah, and I know, what I think we're seeing at, what is that, 65, the house that's adjoining, they use that entire area as a parking area. So, I would be curious to know what the shared driveway entails. I mean, 65 is essentially using it entirely as a parking area.
Sure,
They're not using it as a driveway.
sure.
So what I would be curious about is, if 65 wasn't overusing their right to that property, this might make a lot more sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because, we went up and kinda turned around, went over on him a few feet, he
Okay.
went ahead and stuck some cones up. So he don't
Well,
want us over on
we
him
have to
at all.
understand that ownership and that right of way.
Yeah, so I would get clarification on
We
that.
need a clarification for that ownership, the right of way, the better, stormwater,
Have to survey that.
What we
Survey.
need,
where you plan, the other plan.
that's up to you guys. You
That's
just
up to
come,
you.
you come back with the information.
Did you get a
might be
survey
able to
done when you-
access it through the Otsego County mapping
Mhm.
online and do an aerial view, and you might be able to see where that property line lies when you look at the aerial view coming down.
Well, we done that,
Yeah, so I mean, I would be curious though if it's an easement.
we done that, and the fence the guy
That's
got up,
That's what I'm wondering is if it's an easement.
we done that area. We already checked it, and I even checked with the surveyor.
In the deed,
The fence,
Yeah, so
the guy's up,
they could provide.
the guy's
deed
got
along
3
with the
foot-
document, and you could read whether it's an
his
easement
fence
or-
3 foot over on us. So if I wanted to push it, I can make him move the fence back.
Well, so my question though is, even if it is an easement, if 65 is using that easement in its entirety for parking, it's probably something that isn't kosher, I guess, where I was going with
I was
that.
gonna use that word.
Yeah, so even if it is an easement, they still have a right to use that.
It's still, if they're consuming the entire easement, then the other property owner is being
Right, yeah,
neglected of having their fair share.
their
because-
right to use the easement.
Understood.
So that's where I'm going, this makes a lot more sense if there's an easement, if
We
there's some
can't,
sort of.
we can't let you use other person's property unless you have that right to do so.
But
That's
they
the-
also, at the
And they
same time,
can't use
can't
it,
use.
that's
They can't
correct,
allow
I
that.
understand that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it is.
So this might be something that could be sorted out by having an attorney look at the deed and come up with a clear path as to what is going on with that shared, what used to be the shared garage driveway easement.
Yeah, that's another thing I can't understand. The garage is shared, but that the guy claims he owns all of it. He put cones up and all that
Well,
there.
that's, so that's why I'm
We have
saying.
to drive,
we should
the
talk
garage
But we
is
need to
shared.
figure
Some
it
of the
out.
property the garage is on was actually on us, but he's put cones up.
Can you just summarize that in your motion, and then we can move
Sure.
through this, okay?
I would make a motion to table the proposal.
Until,
To provide more information regarding the property line, the easement that's noted on the deed, the new site plan showing the 5-foot setback along with indication of where the parking spaces are going to be, and if possible, a flow diagram that shows how the traffic flow will egress out of the property. Pretty simple.
water mitigation and any type of
Now, the
shrubbery,
water mitigation,
shrubbery, things like that you're gonna put back there.
That
The
little
amended, the amended motion.
That little section ain't gonna
and
do
I'll
much
let a
on
motion.
water.
Anybody else?
And how long do you wanna table this for until they, you know, cause it's probably not gonna happen in 1 month, I can't imagine.
I'll table it up to 2 months.
Okay,
for them to
and then
get
you
the
just need to get back in
information.
touch with us within 2 months, okay?
Or sooner.
Within 2 months, we'll say.
Yeah, maybe get surveyed, we'll have to track
I
that.
guess we'll have to do that route.
We get a
Maybe your
second.
deed will say it, maybe your deed will.
Maybe
A second.
What, I still can't get over the guy, we shared the garage, but yet the guy claimed
Okay.
where the garage was, I own, he goes, so he kicked us off that.
Okay,
Well, he might have,
Okay.
he might have just had an easement to that.
all right,
We're gonna need.
Mr. Kendall, seconded that.
Okay.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tomino,
Aye.
You write down what you're gonna need, or?
Vice Chair Montantine,
Aye.
Commissioner Clout,
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Aye.
and Commissioner Kendall.
Aye.
We'll get that to you guys, okay? We'll get it to you. All right, we'll get that to you.
And this being a short month, that means the date for the next meeting is the 22nd also, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we'll get you the information. that you need.
Sounds good. Thank you.
for other meetings this year, there will be a snowstorm that day.
Moving on to old business, we have a, applicant, for 3436, we had tabled this particular application to this particular, month. There doesn't seem to be anybody out there, so we can talk about this really quickly, about this particular property. There seems to be that the council is going to create a provision in the code that will make this particular application and our denial or approval of it really moot. And Steve is just gonna say a real quick thing on where it's tracking and what exactly is going to happen with this provision.
So we have a lot of properties that are in the R2 zone that are pre-existing non-conforming multifamily homes. Some of those properties have been pre-existing multifamily homes for 60 years, 70 years. Some of them were built as pre-existing non-conforming homes because we didn't have single-family zoning when they were constructed in 1896. So we have some of these properties and they've come up now, since I've been here, probably 6 times, where those properties have become vacant through divorce, someone died, someone walked away from it, you name it, you can find it. And what ends up happening is our zoning code says, well, if they stop being occupied for 24 consecutive months, they go back to, they're required to conform with the code, so they have to be converted back to single-family homes. This is one of those things that I've kind of always thought doesn't really make a ton of sense, so we are drafting an ordinance to basically say that pre-existing, non-conforming multifamily homes in the R2 zone are essentially conforming. They will be considered conforming in use and in structure, so that every time one of these houses becomes vacant for 24 months, we're not sitting with a property that either won't sell or takes $200,000 to convert back into a single-family home. This does not allow new properties to be converted. It just says the ones that are here, let's bury the hatchet and say they're here and move forward with our lives.
Tracking of this as far as, you know, going with this legislation, or I guess it would be a provision.
It's in council now, so
Okay,
it's been.
when would you think, our next meeting is the 22nd of March, which Mr. Kennel just said.
So
So-
theoretically, it would be either the law or it's about to be signed into law before that meeting.
And it seems as though it's going
Correct.
to move forward.
Yes, the
Okay.
county reviewed it, the county's doesn't have any issue with it.
Okay. I think I don't wanna spend any more time on this particular application. I think we should hold the application on the table until that particular, law is signed and moved forward. And then this just becomes a moot point at then. So if I could just get a motion to, table it until that time, which I'm hoping would be March, but might be April, so within the next 2 months.
So moved.
Okay, and then a second.
Second.
Okay, Lucy, second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tomino,
Aye.
Vice Chair Montanti, I'm
Aye.
sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner Fox,
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmerwitz,
Aye.
sorry.
That's
And
okay.
Commissioner Kendall.
Aye.
All right, so we'll table this until that moment. We have one little housekeeping thing to take care of, and that's the election of the officers, for the ZBA. Anybody like to make some motions on this for chair and vice chair?
I'll make a motion that Mr. Tomino remains as the chair and Ms. Montanetti stays as the vice chair.
Okay.
I'd second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Will the nominees accept?
Just want you to know you're doing a great job.
Okay, so, just, clerk, please call the roll. Aye.
Vice Chair Montanti,
Aye.
Commissioner Fox. Commissioner.
Aye.
Commissioner Kendall.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
You know, when I used to be a school teacher, a bonus question on the quizzes was, can you spell my name?
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Anything anybody needs to bring up?
Nope.
Okay, thank you very much for tonight, and we can adjourn the meeting.